people, welcome to United View and welcome to the Tactical View with Cam. I'm back.
He's back. Casemiro's back from suspension. He is back in the team and we've missed him. We have missed him big time.
Cam was like, listen, Flex, I need you back, big man. But no, you've been holding down the fort. I've been looking at the comments. Everyone's saying how much they're enjoying it. So really, I could just, if you want me to, I could just...
Nah, you're not going anywhere. You know, we can get all right with Fred and Sabitzer here, or maybe I'm just Fred, but we need Casemiro back for the big games. And
the big man is
we've
back.
Got some of them coming in.
100%. But this is the tactical breakdown, tactical view of the game yesterday at Leicester, or at Old Trafford against Leicester. What you got for us today?
Right, this game against Leicester, a game of two halves in many ways. And really though, this is what you Manchester United are. First half showed everything that we're not quite so good at yet under Erik ten Hag, and second half was everything we've been brilliant at. So I think, as everyone knows, at this point, with the way Erik ten Hag's played, he's had to be a bit more pragmatic with the players he's got, the personnel he's got, and then the way we try to play. So what we saw first half was a team, we were exposed to what our actual weaknesses are. We really struggled playing out from the back. Our build-up phase, first phase, isn't really as good as it needs to be yet, partly due to personnel, partly just because we haven't had enough training time really for Ten Hag to work on that. And when you see second half, there wasn't so much of that build-up stuff involved. We got the ball higher up the pitch, more second and third phase, trying to create stuff. We were absolutely brilliant. And some of that was Jadon Sancho coming on, doing a brilliant job. But some of that as well, it's just a simple fact that second half, we did what we were good at. First half, Leicester forced us to do what we're not so good at. And either way, we played well when we did what we're good at, and we weren't quite so good.
And David De Gea, you disgrace, you cheat.
Yes, I've got to mention, to be fair, as much as we're bad in the first phase, that is partly David De Gea. He made some great saves.
I don't even know if I can go this close. I don't even know if that's a zoom in.
It's just zooming in on your nose right now.
Yeah, it's probably, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, David De Gea kept us in that game 100% first half. You've got to give the guy credit. And to be fair to him, his kicking was a lot better than it has been in recent games as well. So, yeah. Before we get onto that though,
look at him, get away from that.
We can't be giving him too much credit here.
Yeah, let's go.
Quick look at the Leicester team. In terms of the quality they've got, James Maddison obviously been brilliant lately. If you give him too much space, too much time, he is going to cause problems. Outside of that, they've got a lot of strong runners. They haven't really got too much sort of star quality. Centre-backs aren't really going to deliver too much in terms of playing out from the back if you press them relatively high. Garnacho's been all right.
I've just realised that's not even Wout Faz, that's actually Harry Souttar.
Harry Souttar's pictures in twice.
But that is Wout Faz with the crazy hair like David Luiz.
Yeah. Garnacho, sort of when he's dropping in linking play, he can do a decent job. But yeah, outside of that, there's not a massive amount of quality of the team. So let's get into a little bit of analysis. What happened in terms of that first half, especially in terms of the way Leicester pressed us pretty high. So what you'll see is in the press that sort of Leicester offered against us, it was mostly a 4-4-2. I don't know why their players are so big at the minute. But yeah, so it was mainly a 4-4-2 press. So you sort of saw Maddison and Garnacho really high on Martinez and Lindelof, and that just made it really hard for us to get the ball out. And that's the thing we struggle with. First phase, when the ball's in sort of this area of the pitch, getting it into midfield, getting it higher and higher. And what was happening, which was a little bit frustrating, is this 4-4-2 at Leicester, what we were doing, because the centre-backs couldn't really progress the ball, what we had, which is unusual from a United team, because it's not something you do when you're at your highest confidence, it's something that you sort of do if your teammate's in trouble. You know, when you're when you're learning to play, you know, obviously, if your teammate's in trouble, you've got to give him a passing option, give him a way to help him out a little bit. And what you saw, rather than Luke Shaw and Diogo Dalot going really high and really wide in the build-up phase to offer us that width option, allowing these guys to drop inside a little bit, they kept coming deeper and deeper and deeper, narrower and narrower and narrower, almost holding the hands of the centre-backs.
Just invited them onto
literally all that did, was it just invited this Leicester press up, so that as soon as you're Martinez or Lindelof, as soon as you pick your head up, you get on that ball, all you see is Maddison, you see Garnacho, you look behind you, 1, 2, 3, 4, a wall in front of you all over the pitch. You can't do anything.
They were really on us in that first 25 minutes.
Yeah, and you've got to give them credit because that pressing approach worked really well. Yeah. And in that sort of situation, United aren't brilliant. That's the thing we struggle with. Partly because obviously David De Gea is not great with his feet.
Whoa. All right, no, you're doing a tactical analysis. I just don't want any slander on his name today.
No,
but
he's done
overall,
well to keep us in the game,
that's fine. But there was some better passes from you. He played one. When the Kosh was on, he played one into here with Fred. And Fred, I don't know if it was Dewsbury or someone was right up his arse. Gave it away straight away. And I went, David, don't ever play that pass ever again. Yeah. But I agree. Obviously, there's issues there.
It's that first phase, is that Obviously, there's limitations with De Gea in terms of his quality. Fred and Sabitzer as well, not quite there in terms of in really tight spaces when they've got players all around them. They're not the most consistent players in terms of, being press resistant as well. So what we needed to see, and what United have done so many times under Ten Hag, is that when these issues are arising, we just say, you know what, we can't play the first phase. We won't play the first phase. We'll kick it over. We'll kick it longer. That's why Weghorst has been in the 10 role quite a bit. He gives us an outlet sort of between the lines there. And obviously from the 10 role as well, what Weghorst can do, rather than being up front and sort of knocking it down backwards, in this role here, if he does win the flick on, which to be fair, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10 times he probably doesn't. But when he does win it, he can go forwards. So that ball goes on to Rashford, goes on to Bruno, on to Garnacho running in behind. And that's the other option that we've got. So second half, we saw a lot more of that. What we saw was, rather than these guys coming towards the ball, what we decided was that actually, if Leicester if they are going to press in this front two, what we'll do, we'll drop one of the fullbacks in there, maybe it's Dalot, maybe it's Shaw, and we'll go in a 3 here. And that just means we've got that extra number, we can circulate the ball much more easily. And what that means then is that we've got, if it's Dalot that's dropped in, Bruno can come wider there. We'll have Shaw higher and wider that side, and by this point, we've made a couple of subs at half-time.
Well, just quickly before you go on to that,
yes,
I did notice as well in this half, this little lad, Garnacho, he really struggled, which is going to happen.
Yes.
He's his breakthrough season. I still see him as the impact player. I think he's much better coming off of the bench and can really change games. But we need to rotate. You know, he's enabled Sancho to only have to play half a game yesterday, and it was the right thing to start him. But I thought what he struggled with. Am I on the movable one? There you go.
Yeah.
I just thought he struggled with Castagna coming down here. Obviously, Tete was engaging Luke Shaw, and he was quite lively, to be fair to Tete in the first half. But these intense runs here, he just couldn't match him for speed. Couldn't match him for a bit of desire as well, and then he just got a little bit lost. Confidence starts going, and I think the alarm bells start ringing. Then, especially with Ten Hag, like he said, I need to take him out of this pressure cooker. This is men's football. This is Premier League football. You're playing against a good side in Leicester who are resurgent. It's eating you up a little bit. Let me just take you out the firing line. So actually, it's a good learning curve for Garnacho, because literally, from the last Premier League game, he was coming off the bench and seeing off the game against Leeds. Then the game before that, starts the game, has to come off, starts again, has to come off. So there's a little bit of a pattern there, but it's a familiar pattern for a young player who needs to learn the game and needs to learn the men's game and needs to learn what Erik Ten Hag wants from him.
Yeah, spot on. At the moment, this is where Garnacho is. He's a brilliant impact player, but in his defence, he wasn't really helped by what we were doing first half, because Luke Shaw kept coming deeper and deeper and deeper, same with Dalot on the other side. And what that meant was that obviously, if he did get the ball, Tete was right on him, so the quality of pass then to Garnacho wasn't quite as good, the service wasn't quite as good. So he was mainly picking up scraps. And what was quite interesting was that Leicester do leave a lot of space, especially when they're pressing high if Sabitzer and Fred go in towards the ball. They leave a lot of space between their midfield line and their defensive line. So in this area here, there is actually a lot of space. The only issue is, because we were pressed so high in the first phase, we didn't have the time to get those balls with quality into Garnacho. So he wasn't able to really drop off and isolate himself, because there was so much pressure on. Every time he dropped off, Castagna would just follow him.
He had a man right up his arse every time.
Yeah, he was
another thing I've noticed as well, which is in fairness to Garnacho, which actually the whole team, because I'm not just putting this on Garnacho, by the way, the whole team played poorly in that first 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, first half, but especially that first 25 minutes until we scored. But what was happening is these two as well, in Fred and Sabitzer, we didn't have any control over the game.
No.
The game's being played like a basketball match. I think Lindelof went in for a clumsy header, then Fred gives it away, then we're backpedaling. Iheanacho sets in, Dewsbury Hall gets it, then he sets in the run from Barnes inside there, forces a save from De Gea. Like, just a bit calamitous in there. And we just, so when we talk about young players needing to come into a steady ship, largely this year, we've been able to integrate young players because we've got some coaching, we've got some tactics. Look at last year, when you're bringing in Hannibal, you're bringing in Alanga, you're bringing in the youngsters. We couldn't do it. So that, I think yesterday was an example of when the team's not quite functioning, it's often the young players who suffer most, because they're still just trying to get plan A going, just to get themselves as a professional footballer at the highest level, let alone firefighting between when it goes wrong. And that's why you just get him out of there. Exactly.
I mean, technically, first half, it was pretty sloppy. Yes. I think tactically, the organisation didn't help. That all just contributed, all added together, meant Leicester caused us too many problems. And it was the fullbacks. It was these wide areas that we had the problems, because with their midfield four, the wingers being able to tuck so high on our fullbacks, that just meant we weren't able to progress play. Second half, when we changed the game, what Ten Hag did was he brought off, where is he? Alejandro Garnacho, brought on Jadon Sancho into the number 10 role. Weghorst goes up top. Rashford comes out to the right side. And straight away, in terms of the defensive side of things, you ask more questions of Leicester because Castagna then can't really commit too hard because all he knows is one little flick from Rashford. The confidence, the form he's in, he's going to get in behind straight away. Yeah. But also, more importantly, Ten Hag fixed the first phase of the build-up by dropping in one of the fullbacks. Sometimes it was Dalot, sometimes it was Shaw. The other one would push on a little bit higher, gave us a little bit more time. So although we may not have had the numerical sort of advantage in this area here in midfield, these guys had a bit more time on the ball. So we had enough time to get quality passes into this space, into this area.
He did it a lot, didn't he? As he always does.
It's what he always does. He's brilliant at it. So it was a combination of sort of transferring this to give us an advantage there, 3v2, but also then getting Jadon Sancho on. You give him space to operate between the lines. He is technically fantastic, and from these positions, you're always going to have runners around him. You're going to have Bruno running, you're going to have Weghorst, you're going to have Rashford. You give Sancho runners around him, he can combine with anybody. And so if you add to that, with Bruno staying high then, Barnes has got an issue. If he goes to press Dalot, it is a really easy ball out to Bruno, and then because if Barnes does go and press high, there's space in this sort of area for Sabitzer. So you're making the job, by sort of sorting out this first phase here, this first line of our playing out, you're making the job easier for everybody up the pitch, gives us more time, more chance to get quality on the ball. And look, even when it didn't work in terms of playing out, despite having this advantage here, we made it more transitional. And for me, that is where Manchester United excel. The players we've got, Bruno Fernandes, brilliant in transition. Marcus Rashford, absolutely brilliant in transition. Fred and Sabitzer, you get second balls going, you get sort of issues.
Counter-pressing, that is what we
They are fantastic. That is their game, Fred and Marcel Sabitzer. So what I want to look at now is some stats here, and that will show the way Ten Hag changed the game in the second half was to take it from us trying to play out the back and causing our own problems because we're not good at that. He made it a transitional game, made it a duel-focused game where if we win our duels, we'll get the ball forward at pace, and the players that we've got who are brilliant on transition will do their thing. So, look at this comparison here. Duels won. First half, 28 for us, 27 for Leicester. Second, aerial duels, 8 versus 7. Pretty even. Second half, duels won, 40 for us, 23 for Leicester. Aerial duels, 8 for us, 0 for Leicester.
Yeah.
So we started playing a lot more transitionally, gave ourselves the opportunity to do what we're good at, stop doing what we're bad at, did what we're good at, and it turned up a good result in the end.
Can you talk a little bit about this man?
About Weghorst.
And the role that he's been playing.
Yes.
I know, obviously, that we've got another preview coming out for you guys as well when we talk about the Barca game in more depth. But I just wanted to talk in terms of the Leicester game because he's going from a 10 to a 9, sometimes a 9 to a 10. And a lot of people, obviously, he might not be able to finish the chances or score goals. We want to see more goals from him. But it's integral what he's doing for the team. And Erik Ten Hag's been talking about that so much. Talk to me a little bit about that, and I know you've got an animation here as well. Yeah, no, Weghorst is, what he's so good at is that, as we've mentioned, we've got a lot of players who are brilliant on transition. Weghorst in the 10 role can drop in and win balls around him. He can win, rather than sort of having to flick things backwards from a striker role, he can flick things forwards, he can let things go over his head. He's a nuisance in that area. He drags players in towards him. He makes it really hard for defenders to defend against, and ultimately that gives more space to all of the players around him. So he's a really useful player to have. And what's really nice to see is that, although he's not scoring, he's making everybody else around him better. And what I want to highlight a few sort of things that have probably slipped under the radar in this. So this is our second goal, and the way it sort of transpired. And the important things here are how we've made it into, again, even with our defensive setup, we've built the sort of way we're trying to play around winning as many duels as possible. So the ball starts sort of with a throw-in in this corner for Leicester. You can see the ball will pop up in a second, I'm sure. Well, I hope. Yeah, there we go. So the ball's sort of with Bruno here. He plays a ball into Fred, which is a bit of a strange pass, but plays it into midfield there. Fred's up against Dewsbury Hall. Dewsbury Hall actually ends up winning the header. But then what you see is Tete drops in, and this is where Luke Shaw, rather than coming in here and defending space, he follows Tete all the way in, and he wins that duel. He comes out with the ball. As we showed on the stats, we did a lot more of that in the second half. The ball's sort of in here, they're contesting it at the moment. You've got players sort of scattering around it to sort of get into position for their transition. But once Luke Shaw wins that duel, that's when we've sort of generated a mini transition in itself there. That ball goes out to Martinez, you see Weghorst, you see Rashford sort of stepping up the pitch. Martinez carries that ball forwards, Fred's breaking in behind, Rashford's ready to go as well. You see the front players making their runs, defence dropping off because they're worried about the threat in behind. And then what's brilliant is obviously the line breaking ability
that Lisandro Martinez has got. If you watch this here, Weghorst comes in here, Suter tracks him all the way. It's that movement that Weghorst makes, opens that space for Rashford to go into. Then on transition, Martinez, brilliant ball into Fred, and then obviously the rest is just Marcus Rashford doing what he does.
On Fred though, right? You know, that's another assist. I know he's got to travel a little bit with it, so you can say, oh, so many touches, maybe it's not an assist, but a direct goal involvement, right? He's done the same thing at the Nou Camp.
Yeah.
You know, where you have to see that pass, and it looks like an easy pass, and you should get it right. Yeah. But often, if that pass goes wrong, that's the pass where you say, that's where Bruno, that's where we just don't want Fred receiving it there because, you know, the quality of pass or the weight of pass. Instinctively, play the ball inside the inside channel, get Rashford onto it. Done exactly the same at the Nou Camp, but from this channel here. Plays the ball into here, and Rashford comes onto it, scores from a tight angle. So Fred, although in the first half, you know, a lot of people were saying in the fan views, he's literally like a box of chocolates. Yeah. You know, you look on social media, some people saying Fred's the only player that, not even within the same game, but within a half, he can play 15 minutes at a 10, 15 minutes at a 5, and 15 minutes at a 2, out of 10, where you don't know. But he always manages to just keep going, and actually, he's having the same games to big up Fred before we wrap up.
Exactly. So, look, that pass to Marcus Rashford is fantastic. And the thing with Fred is that it's a bit similar to United in the sense of, in that first half, we did things we weren't very good at, and shock, we weren't very good at them. We lost the ball a lot. We gave Leicester too many chances. Second half, we did what we were good at, and we ended up scoring a lot of goals, playing really, really well. Yeah. It's the same with Fred. When you get him on the front foot, moving forward, in positions to win second balls, win his duels, and he's constantly moving forwards, he's all right. It's when he's got to worry about what's behind him, what's sort of the side of him,
i.e.
too
that
many
pass
players around
right
him.
up his arse when he's got a man. He's not Frankie de Jong. He can't get that pass and wriggle out of danger and stuff. He needs to, like you say, see exactly what's in front of him, have a clear picture, and do the simple things.
Exactly, and that is where you've got to give the credit to Erik ten Hag. He knows what his players are good at and what they're not so good at. And at the moment, we're brilliant on transition, not quite so good at playing out of our own third. So we generate more transitions as much as possible, and that's mainly through our dual-focused approach. So defensively, we have a lot of man marking going on in midfield, in defence, and that means that if our players win their duels, which as we did second half, we saw that on the stats, they go forward, generate mini transitions because the opposition are disorganised, and that gives us the best chance to score goals. So look, this Leicester game, although it may look like a tale of two halves, really, that is the best possible reality check of where Manchester United are right now. We're not great in the first phase, but everything else, Erik ten Hag, you have done some brilliant work.
Brilliant stuff. Great to hear. We've got our preview coming up for you. For the big one, another tactical masterclass coming in from Cam, another tactical analysis coming in from Cam for Barcelona, but well put there. Drop your views and your comments in the boxes below. I know you guys love this show. This show is just building. This show is just getting continuous. It's happening every week and it's going to grow. It's going to grow with you guys' help as well. Smash the like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and see you on the next Tactical View very, very soon. Peace.